Sup? Welcome to PTC Cast episode 39. Today, Chris and I just answer some questions. We talk about what a clean bulk consists of, and we also talk about the point of training blocks, why you would have a hypertrophy block, why you would have a volume block, why you would have, well, that's the same thing, why you would have a strength block, why you would have a peaking block, why you would break down your training in that regards. We answer some other little fun questions as well on the way. This is PTC Cast episode 39, brought to you by ProgressThroughChange.com, where you can get your 4 easy habits for fat loss guide. We also have a free chest training guide, and we have a sample food list. I recommend all of them. They're totally free. They're there for you, and hopefully they can help you. They help Chris lose 120 pounds. They help me lose 50, and they've helped my clients lose quite literally hundreds of thousands more. Maybe not hundreds of thousands, hundreds or thousands more. Enjoy the show. Man, it's kind of weird. I feel like we kind of upgraded. Yeah. Just between the studio and I'm like leaning back in a chair. It's kind of comfy. Like you got a haircut and your beard's longer.
That's
like,
very true. Yeah.
We're out here, man.
What's next?
It feels fresh. It feels clean.
Are we going to turn this into a franchise?
We need to. Yeah. We'll open a Fortune 500. Start. What's it called when a company goes public? We're going to start selling PTC stocks.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what it's called. I think it's just going public.
You can invest. Today, Chris and I just wanted to go into a Q&A. We thought we would answer some of y'all's questions for today's episode. We thought that this way might be a fun format to do every once in a while, just taking questions, because we have gotten a lot of positive feedback doing questions at the end of all the other episodes. So we'll spend today with some questions. We'll start off. Let's start off nice and easy, man. You can only eat one meal for the rest of your life. What are you picking?
One meal?
Have we done this before?
Oh, gosh. No,
I don't think we've done this before. No. Okay, yeah.
You see, last time I think it was one protein.
One protein?
I think that's what we had.
Okay. Well, what is one meal you can't go... Oh, wait. Excuse me. You can only eat one meal for the rest of your life. What are you picking? What do you got?
Wait, so does that mean like breakfast, lunch, or dinner?
One meal. So you get one thing to eat for the rest of your life. But it says meal, so it can be like a complete meal, not just one food. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So it could be like a whole entree, side. For the sake of conversation, maybe an appetizer and a dessert as well.
It would have to be some kind of barbecue, man.
Some kind of barbecue.
It would probably be like brisket with smoked sausage, smoked turkey, barbecue sauce.
I didn't know you were such a big barbecue guy.
I am. Yeah, I mean, when it comes to one meal for the rest of your life,
there's a lot of really good like brisket places in North Texas, man. For sure.
Yeah, Hard Egg Barbecue.
We're super spoiled over here, or even like Tender. I mean, we're spoiled over here, man. We got a lot of good like not only food places but barbecue food places. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I could see that for sure.
And I'm thinking about like macros too, man. That would fit all of my macros.
I got my protein. I got my
fats.
My carbs.
I got my carbs. Yeah, because after you
get the toast,
after you get the meats, man, you go for that sweet potato. Yeah. You go for if you want some fries,
you're loaded up,
macaroni and cheese.
You're good to go.
Man, you got pecan pie, buttermilk pie. You got everything.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. I think that's a good pick. Man, the last time I went to a barbecue place, I had I can't believe it slipped my mind. I had a brisket sandwich. Yeah. But at the end, I had some banana pudding to go with that.
Oh, man. Mm-hmm. Did it have the wafers in it?
Mm-hmm. Oh. Yeah, it was from Tender. You been there?
I've never been to Tender. I just know the Tender app.
That's good. My pick, I think, would be steak fajitas, man.
Steak fajitas.
Yeah.
So does that include like, the Mexican rice on the side?
I would say so. Yeah, it's a meal, right? Oh, so I get rice, I get beans, I get corn tortillas, I get flour tortillas.
What kind of beans?
Probably whatever.
Would it be the black beans, pinto beans?
Whatever the generic like.
So the pinto beans?
Probably. Yeah. I'm not super picky when it comes to beans. This dude's eating beans.
But eating that for the rest of your life, man?
I guess that's fair. Yeah, maybe I do want to be a little more.
You didn't think this through, did you?
Probably black beans.
No. Yeah, black beans are the bomb.
Probably black beans. I think that would be the one for me. But for the same reason, man. I cover all my macros. That's the way to do it. And then I can like adjust portion sizes as I make my fajitas. Like, so if I need more protein, I can do more steak. Or if
we are such meatheads.
Yeah, bro. But I think, it's just, we're keeping in mind like it's a good tasting thing, but the macros are there, and that's kind of a necessity. And I also feel like when it's such like a staple, like I don't know about you, but to me, a meal doesn't feel like a meal if I don't have like a significant amount of protein in it.
Yeah, 100%.
I'm not sure if that's just me.
No,
but like
here too.
And I don't know if that could be the meathead thing, but it also could.
I think it
be,
is.
Yeah, because it could be. So, but yeah, no, I would go with the steak fajitas for sure.
Like, man, I won't eat a snack unless it has a minimum of 20 grams of protein in the snack.
I will say, like, when I'm going for snacks, I'm always going for the things that are going to have some protein in them. And these are things that I also try to put on my my online clients on, because I feel like it's just it's a simple way to get your protein up, and usually they're like things that are relatively easy to eat. So that's going to be like light string cheese is going to have like 6 or 7 grams of protein in it for like 100 calories. There's a little bit of fat there too. Greek yogurt, depending on the brand you do, man. I mean, you could do a low fat or a non-fat, and you're going to have a ton of protein there. And depending on if you're going low fat, non-fat, whole, whatever, you can get some fats in there as well. You can get some carbs in there. And then, usually I preferred getting the plain and then doing like some blueberries and some granola and stuff like that. Again, depending on, how many carbs you got or what you're working with. But you can also just get the little pre-made packs depending on, what brand you like, or if you eat dairy, or, but those are kind of two of my go-tos there. Another big protein snack for me is beef jerky, man. I'm a big beef jerky guy, dude. I'm not super picky about brands, to be honest with you, but it's just a quick, easy way to get some protein in. Do you have any like go-to snacks or anything like that?
I wish that I could say beef jerky. Like, that would be ideal, man. But it's just a lot of the beef jerky that I find, it has like a ton of just sugar in it.
Oh yeah. Well, I'm usually eating like the generic, like, Jack Links or something like that.
Oh, okay.
But so it's definitely not like the best thing, but if I'm talking like if it's a one-off or I'm traveling and I need some protein or something, for sure, it's usually my go-to. But no, I would not say as a consistent source.
Got you. I guess my favorite snack to eat, I don't know if it's considered a meal, but it's one slice of bread with almond butter, and then I'll have a protein shake and some cottage cheese. Okay. That's like the most ideal snack for me. Is delicious, full of protein. Oh yeah, and a side of nuts.
That almost sounds like a pre-training thing. Is that usually when you do it?
No. My pre-training is actually, it's usually like, some waffles with syrup and peanut butter.
Okay. This guy, yeah.
I just lost all my
reputability. No, that's not true. It's quick sugar. You're using it, man. I mean,
exactly, man.
If you know who Seth Feroci is, he's like notorious for putting like gummy bears in his fucking pre-workout shakes. Yeah, man. It works. People love their sugar, man. No, I'm sorry. Go on. So you got your almond almond butter on bread, and you're doing a protein shake.
Yeah.
What else?
And then, the side of nuts and cottage cheese.
What kind of nuts? Do you do almonds, walnuts?
It's a mixture of nuts, but whatever nuts, just besides peanuts.
Okay.
Just because I feel like peanuts are very like a low quality choice to choose.
Sure.
So
if we're staying on the meathead subject of protein and macronutrients as well, if you're going nuts, usually the route I like to go is almonds. Yeah. Just because, your calories are still going to be on the higher side with it being nuts because they're fatty, and we know that there's 9 calories in a gram of fat, so those guys are going to be a little bit more dense. But, I've found the only real the one that has significant amount enough protein is going to be almonds.
100%.
I wish I could say the same thing about walnuts because I think those are delicious. And peanuts, man, that's like a ballpark snack, dude. Like
don't eat peanuts.
You're watching the Yankees or something if you're eating peanuts, bro. But okay, so go on.
But yeah.
Oh, and you said cottage cheese too, right?
Yeah, cottage cheese.
You usually do like 2%. I mean, what's the?
When it comes to dairy products, I always try to choose whole milk dairy products. But unfortunately, a lot of times, like if I go shopping at Costco, then they'll only have 2% fat for the cottage cheese.
Before you jump that real quick, why exactly do you always go whole milk? Is it just for the nutrient density, for the calories? Do you digest it better? What's the? I guess prefer the taste. I mean,
I guess I always thought that low fat or whatever was good, but now after like experimenting with my diet and introducing quite a bit more fats, I've learned that my body performs really well when it has a decent amount of fats.
Yeah, and you do all right with the dairy as well.
Yeah, I do good with the dairy. Now, when it comes to like milk or something, maybe for the first couple of days after not drinking it for a while, then it'll mess up my stomach. But I actually just reintroduced milk into my diet. I think like 3 days ago, and I haven't had any issues so far. So
that's awesome, man.
Yeah, I try to have at least 2 dairy products throughout the day. Before it was
protein. protein from dairy is honestly a super high form of protein. The only reason I ever have people stray away from it is if they struggle to digest it. So, if you're someone who can handle dairy just fine, like it doesn't give you bloating, gas, diarrhea, it doesn't make your skin break out or make you feel gross or anything like that, like dairy is going to be for you. With those prerequisites, it makes it sound like dairy could be a bad thing, but it's just one of those things that you might not be able to digest. So it's really going to come down to the individual. I have found that I think more people tend to err on the side of no dairy, but I think there's definitely people out there that function just fine with it. I found for me personally, I can do like a little bits of cheese or yogurt, but I can't do just like straight up milk.
Got you.
So it definitely is kind of like a case specific.
So you kind of like work around and find, what will work for you.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Yeah. And I don't know if that has to do, I definitely don't know, but it could have anything to do with, the way they culturize it or the way it's processed exactly. So, but they definitely do tend to hit differently. So it's just kind of one of those trial and error things that you have to pay attention to over time. But I think sometimes people hear dairy and they kind of like raise the red flag and start throwing shots. Yeah, for sure. And
I don't blame them though.
No, for sure. It's an easy target and a lot of people don't do well with it. And, also if you're on the vegan team or anything like that, like it's morality makes sense. Health, you can make some arguments. So, but
not only that, like milk has a lot of, macronutrients, and it could be, a pain in the ass sometimes trying to implement that into your diet because, it may not make sense for you.
You might just not have the calories as well.
Yeah.
Because it's probably primarily going to be for people who are trying to gain weight. Or if, you're one of the people who likes to like make protein shakes with milk or almond milk or anything like that as well. So that's usually where it's going to go. Because, usually like the places that I start if someone's trying to lose body fat is going to be with calories and liquids. So milk is not the place I would start if fat loss is your goal. But if you're someone who can afford the calories, you're looking to grow, you're looking to build, and you do okay with dairy, I would say you're kind of that niche population that should check out some dairy.
Yeah, and then again, you have the cottage cheese, you
have
Greek
some
yogurt,
other options,
a bunch of other options, cheese, like whatever.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I think those are going to be kind of all my big players when it comes to like snacks for protein. I think the biggest thing is you want to get to a point where you're consistent within your meals because then your protein is coming from more whole sources and they're complete proteins rather than, trying to pull from, maybe plant proteins or, proteins that might be left over from something else, which your body might not use the same way it would use like a lean meat or something of that nature. So moving on here, man, what consists of a clean bulk? And funny, that was a good little segue. That was nice.
Wow,
man.
You planned that?
No, I didn't actually. What consists of a clean bulk? So I would say,
first of all, what is a clean bulk?
Okay, so a clean bulk I would say is probably defined by bulking, so eating enough calories to ensure you're growing, which means eating more calories than you burn in a day, ideally anywhere from 300 to 800 calories worth extra. But when people say clean bulking, usually they're talking about one of two things. Either strictly eating clean foods while bulking. So clean foods meaning, I don't need to explain what clean foods are.
Yeah.
Everybody kind of has their own opinion of what clean foods are. And there's also the point of that being trying to gain as much size as you can, eating healthy foods and hopefully not gaining any fat along the way. And that's fine and great, and that's a good approach in itself. You could also think of clean bulking like bulking with a small caloric surplus, still generally with clean foods, but when you have a much smaller surplus, usually that bulk is a little cleaner, meaning you're putting on less fat, but you do grow a lot slower, depending on, I guess, who you are and what. Yeah, for sure. These are all like... Yeah. But I'm going to go ahead and go with the first because usually I think when people say clean bulking, they mean they want to gain weight, but they don't want to eat like a pig, which I think is definitely a good approach. So, I feel like I shouldn't have to use the word clean bulk, but if you're bulking and you're trying to gain weight, man, like you want to keep your digestion where it is.
Yeah.
A lot of people think that, I'm not dieting anymore, so I can stop eating dieting foods. And it's like, no, man, you're eating dieting foods. You're just eating a fucking lot more of it.
Yeah.
That's how you grow. And so, you can definitely have some freedoms, especially if you're someone who's, a guy in his maybe late teenage, early 20s, and, everything digests fine and you can get away with things like that. Like that's maybe something a little bit different. But if you're someone who's trying to clean bulk for health reasons and for just trying to stay, as healthy as you can while you gain that weight, you want to probably try to stay within those healthy foods, which can be hard to do though, man, because if you're someone who you got to think, let's say you need to eat 3,000 calories to grow. It's hard to get 3,000 clean calories, man.
It is, yeah.
Your fats are going to have to be pretty high. I say have to, not necessarily have to, but it could help if your fats are high because your fats are going to be a little bit denser, right? So you could start going with, I would never go with anything fattier than like an 80-20 cut of beef, but you could start working your way up to like 85-15 or 90-10 might be a good place to stop as well, depending on, what you prefer and what you find works best for you. Avocados are going to be a good source of a way to get some calories in all at once. Almond butter I have found is a really good way to go as well there. Some other good fats are going to be, again, like dairy, if that's something that you can digest okay and be all right with. Almonds, if that's something that you're good with. Olive oil is a huge one. Grass-fed butter is a big one as well. So, those fats are going to help you get those calories up and make it a little bit easier to fulfill all those calories you need to eat with clean sources. I don't know why I did air quotes with clean sources. I think I've always had like this weird relationship with like the thoughts of like clean and dirty eating because, so much of it is not only case specific. And of course there's your obviouses like, okay, a steak and potatoes is going to be clean and McDonald's is going to be dirty. Like, yeah, I get that. But what about like the middle ground, like we were talking about with dairy, so I just feel like clean and dirty aren't definitive enough terms. But anyways, I think where I was trying to go with that is the name of the game is being sure your calories are where they are. I have a client who we've been training for, maybe a year and a half now. He's a young guy, trains hard, and he just recently decided he wanted to hit it 6 days a week. So he's been doing that.
Wow.
And he's been growing, man. Yeah. So he's really been on top of it, and he's been on top of his protein as well, but he wasn't tracking calories. Dude, as soon as we started tracking calories and ensuring that he was eating enough, he's put on like 4 or 5 pounds in the last week and a half.
Yep.
And, it's incredible to know that like, when you have the knowledge of this is all an energy balance game, you have to have enough coming in to have enough left over to build, or you have to have enough going out to need to pull from your reserves to burn. It all makes a lot more sense. That's why tracking is so important.
It all immediately falls in place.
Exactly. It's literally, it's energy balance. That's all it comes down to. So when you can be conscious of those numbers and get there consistently, it's great. But the name of the game, again, is being able to do it with clean foods. So a lot of the times you might have to, look into doing smoothies where, maybe we're blending up some fruits. Maybe we're blending up some peanut butter and some protein. Maybe we're blending up, dairy with that as well, some different veggies. That can be an easy way to get some protein in and get those calories up. Rice is going to be a huge player, man.
Yeah.
Oats, if you digest it okay, that might be something that could sit a little heavier. But I would say those are some of my biggest go-tos when just trying to get those calories up. I have also found that if you're someone who struggles with appetite, adding a little bit of cardio can be a huge player, or just train a little harder.
Oh yeah, you'll definitely get a lot more hungrier.
Oh yeah, man. Yeah, I've never had an issue with appetite, whether I'm gaining, dieting, whatever, and I've always attributed it to movement. And I've found that anytime someone struggles with getting their food in, adding as minimal as like 20 minutes every other day can make a pretty big difference. So you need to stimulate that, get some calories burning, get your body digesting things and moving, and then usually you're ready to eat again. So,
And then when I wanted to kind of rewind back to you talking about, choosing, good quality or bad quality foods.
Yeah.
One rule that usually really helps me is choosing specific foods for specific reasons. So I think a big mistake that people make whenever they're
really
bulking.
like that.
Yeah, a big mistake that people make when they're bulking is they just assume that they need to eat more calories.
Yeah.
And that's it. And so they'll go out and they'll have things like, pizza or, milkshakes, desserts.
Yeah.
A food that has a bunch of macros, but not for any specific reason.
Yeah.
Like
it's just a fucking calorie bomb.
Yeah, exactly. It's just a calorie bomb with a bunch of random ass calories.
Yeah.
But if you're choosing, like, let's say you decide to bulk and, currently before your bulk for lunch, you're having, let's just go with the plain chicken breast, white rice.
Yeah.
That's what you're having. Well, maybe you can, if you're looking to bulk, that increasing your fats will help, with your calories, obviously, and then increasing your protein and carbohydrate intake would also increase those calories. So maybe instead of the chicken breast, you can move over to like you said, a ground beef.
Yeah.
Or
a turkey if you're trying to stay within like the white meat area.
yeah, exactly. But you're choosing those foods for a specific reason.
Right.
You're not replacing that chicken and rice meal with a pizza.
With something totally random and out of the blue.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a really good point. And you can even just take the things you're already doing, like if you're doing that chicken and rice, and just build upon it. Okay, I need more calories, but I like where my carbs are at. I like where my protein's at. Let me add half an avocado. Let me do 2 tablespoons of olive oil.
Put some butter in the rice.
Sure, man. Yeah, it's not that super hard of a step, and I'm really glad you said that, because I've had a lot of success with people looking at foods almost as a tool is the wrong word, but basically what you said, like for specific reasons.
Yeah.
So, part of that that's a huge part of tracking calories and macronutrients.
It is, yeah.
Because basically what happens when you're tracking calories and macronutrients, all you're doing is budgeting. You have 2,000 calories, you have $2,000. You have 30% fats, you have 30% to go towards rent. You have 40% protein, you have 40% to go towards etc. You have that 30% left over as carbs, you have 30% to go towards general living expenses. However you want to break it down. But when you figure out that like, oh, I need to allot things this way so that I can add up that whole budget or add up that whole thing to create one big pie, it makes sense. So you're breaking them down as tools. So instead of looking at avocados as avocados, you're looking at them as fat.
Yep.
Instead of looking at chicken as chicken, you're looking at it as protein. Instead of looking at rice as rice, you're looking at it as carbohydrate source.
Yeah.
And so once you do that, and then you can even work it to the next level of, okay, I'm looking at these things, and then here's my best option for each one of these things.
Yeah.
So now, even though I look at I look at rice as a carbohydrate and I look at pretzels as a carbohydrate, I know that rice is going to fulfill me a little bit more for my goals and what I need to do.
Yep.
That might be a better option in that moment. But if I'm, dieting and I'm sitting down on the couch to watch TV with Brianna and I want something to munch on that is going to fit that same plan as well, maybe it won't be optimal, but boom, I can go pretzels. I don't even have to think about it. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? It becomes like, it's such a simple layer to add to understand it so much more fundamentally.
Yeah. I really like the way that you broke that out, because I guess that's what I was trying to say, but yeah, you spelled it out perfectly. One other thing that I would like to add to it really quick though is, whenever you're picking these carb choices or, protein choices, fat choices, try to pick a choice that has mainly that macro.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like if you're choosing a carbohydrate and you have, either rice or, I don't know, bad example, chocolate, whatever.
Sure.
Just for this example, the rice is going to be made up of pretty much carbs, just only carbs.
Right.
But the chocolate, that would be made of fat and carbs.
Right.
So
Exactly.
you don't,
and your carb sources are different.
Yeah, exactly. It's going to be, complex and a ton more simple sugars.
Right.
So yeah, just something more to think about.
Right. That's a really good point too, because earlier you used the example of, you could switch the chicken with the beef to add the calories. And yes, that's a good point. But if you're somebody dieting and you think, oh, chicken is protein, beef is protein, but you forget that beef comes with some fat, especially depending upon the cut that you get, you're going to forget about those calories that are added, or you're not going to have allotted for that. So that is something that I'm glad you said. So it's like, if you're at a point where you just need protein, you just need chicken for this one specific thing, and you're trying to keep it nothing else, no carbs, no fats, maybe your next your alternative is white fish then. Something that's just as lean and just protein. Yeah. But exactly like you said, like that's a really good point, because sometimes we'll make those swaps and we'll totally miss it. And sometimes, funny enough, I find this most relevant when I'm like going for a snack, because if I'm like, oh, well, I have just 40 grams of carbs, nothing else, then I'm going to go for the rice cakes, But if I have, 40 grams of carbs and 10 grams of fats, well, then maybe, I could go for that chocolate, or I could add some almond butter to that or something, so it's basically these pieces of this puzzle that you're trying to build to, again, fill that entire pie. And depending on where you are, you have different allotments from each left over.
Yes.
And what you have left over changes what you can pick, And
that's a great reason, another reason to track your foods, is because whenever you stop tracking, maybe, or, you don't have the ability to track, well, you've had all of this practice.
Yeah.
So that you start seeing foods in that way, and you start, thinking of your calories as a budget.
Yeah.
And you start all of these, honestly, unconscious habits. Like me and Alex, I'm sure that we don't go into foods consciously thinking, okay, blah, blah, blah. No, we go into them like automatically thinking, okay, I'm not going to choose this because,
it's going to be way too high in
yeah,
fat,
exactly.
or it's going to be,
and all of this is like unconscious thinking just because we've been doing it for so long.
Right.
So that's the goal for you to get to.
Right. It kind of becomes almost an autopilot thing. You figure it out. And once you learn these foods, you're like, oh, okay, I got this. I got that. I got this. I got that. But to circle that back and reel it in a little bit, as far as what does a consistent clean bulk consist of? Well, number one, it's going to be eating more calories than you burn in a day. And I tossed around the number 300 to 800 calories earlier. That's going to be very dependent upon who you are. So that 300 to 800 calories, meaning if you burn 2,000 calories in a day, either you're eating 2,300 to 2,800 calories. That number should probably depend on, how much light movement you do through the day. So how much you're on your feet, what do you do for work? Are you, slinging stuff around? Are you walking around? Are you on your butt all day? How many days a week do you train? Are you 20 or are you 50? There's different questions to be asked like that. But so you want to start being sure you're in a caloric surplus of 300 to 800 calories. I would say that 300 is a pretty hard minimum. I don't know if you'll see, you probably won't be able to notice much growth with anything less.
Yeah.
Moving forward from that, like we said, it's going to consist of clean, whole foods. And again, typically the way that I like to start people is cranking up those fats, because that's a way that you can increase calories without having to increase food quantity too much.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And I have found as well that a lot of people might not do so well with super high carbs. You have to be training pretty intensely to handle super high carbs well. And I don't mean to create like a barrier of entry or anything like that for people who might not like to train like that, but that is something good to keep in the back of your brain that, Ben Pekulski said you have to earn your carbs, and I'm a big believer in that. Obviously you get your baseline carbs so you're not brain dead all day, but point being, like, if you're trying to eat anywhere from, I'm throwing around numbers here, man, but if you're trying to eat more than like 150 to 200 grams of carbs a day, you better be resistance training and pretty significantly.
Oh yeah.
And you probably should be doing some sort of cardio as well. But as far as that, man, that's really what a clean bulk consists of, is doing that for a long time. If you wanted to get into the training side of it, you should be focusing on getting stronger in the same movement patterns. You should be sure that those movement patterns are balanced. So, for every push movement, you have a pull. For every, leg extension, you have a leg curl. For every bench press, you have a row. For every pull down, you have an overhead press. Just trying to be sure you're creating that balance and not creating any deficiencies in your movement patterns. I would say even more so than when you're dieting, sleep is going to be absolutely 100% the bottleneck for most people. Getting 8 solid hours of sleep a night, myself included, it's that bottleneck. Getting 8 solid hours of sleep a night are going to be a huge player in your clean bulk. But other than that, I would really say patience, man. I mean, this can kind of be a hard game to play, because if you're talking about fat loss, if you get good at it, man, you can shed some fat off pretty quick. Fat loss, I would consider, depending on who you are, different people have different hormones and backgrounds and things going on. I'm not trying to take anything away from anyone, but I would consider fat loss to be an easier step than tissue gain. I shouldn't say easier as far as time frame goes. You can lose a lot more fat. You could lose 50 pounds in a year, but you're probably not going to gain 50 pounds of lean tissue in a year.
Absolutely
unless you're
not.
like Nick Walker and you got, you're eating trenbolone sandwiches every other day.
Yum, 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 yum.
But no. But I guess everything I'm trying to say there is it really just boils down to eat more of the same clean foods you would eat when you were dieting. Be sure your sleep is where it needs to be, and be sure your training is centered around improving strength and improving technique.
Yes.
That was a pretty deep explanation for a Q&A, man. Do you have any over there?
Let's see. Okay, so this question is from Michael Flores. You remember him?
Shout out Michael Flores. Yeah, dude. He's been getting strong as fuck, bro.
Yeah, I'm coaching him.
Oh, no. Okay,
yeah,
that's
dude.
why. Yeah, man. He works hard, dude.
Yeah, unfortunately, he was supposed to compete in, I believe, 5 weeks, but we just got the news that the meet was canceled, so we're going to go ahead and do a recomp.
Okay.
Over the next, he has 16 or 17 weeks until the state championships, so we're going to recomp him, get his cardio up, his work capacity up.
I like it, man.
Yeah, get him to lose some weight, and then,
that's exciting,
destroy
dude.
that meet.
Yeah, that's exciting, dude. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so why is it appropriate to block train? hypertrophy. So I guess meaning having sections of hypertrophy and then next peaking.
Strength,
and
volume.
Then, yeah,
Sure.
exactly. So breaking them up into phases.
Sure.
So this is, I guess, this is more advanced when it comes to your training.
Yeah.
You know, I don't think there's any point of doing this unless it's for a specific reason, or unless
I
you're
would
just
say
trying to.
primarily for strength athletes.
Yeah, exactly. Because the whole idea of strength or block training is you're building up to something, you know, specific, some kind of performance
Yeah.
that you want to achieve. So why is it appropriate to block train? First of all, I guess let's talk about the blocks. So, and I'm going to, I guess,
Break it down
ground it
however
in,
you want.
I'm
Yeah,
going to
yeah,
ground it into powerlifting.
Yeah, yeah.
Just because it's the best for me to, you know, put it
Yeah.
into words. So in powerlifting, there's usually 3 blocks. The first one is the hypertrophy phase. The second one is the strength phase. And then the last one is the peaking phase. So when it comes to the hypertrophy phase, and honestly, I don't even like to call it the hypertrophy phase because I'm not trying to build muscle mass.
I usually use the phrase volume,
Yeah, it's more of like, increasing your volume,
which means
or your workload
which means
capacity.
sets and reps. Yes, exactly.
Exactly.
Your workload
So-
capacity. How much can you do?
Yeah, and then so the goal when it comes to the volume block is 1, increasing your work capacity, 2, dialing in your technique because you're going to be doing a lot more volume. You'll have
practice.
you'll have a lot more opportunities to practice and perfect that movement that you're trying to achieve.
That's an overlooked piece. Is that skill
Yes.
acquisition that happens in that phase?
Doing that alone, will take your training or your achievements to the next level when it comes to performing.
Yep. Learning that neurological pattern is very underrated.
Yes. And, you know, personally, I recommend, you know, having a minimum of, like, for your main lifts, 8 reps.
Yep.
When it comes to training that movement. And yeah, those are the main, and then building weaknesses. So for the volume phase, workload capacity, training that movement, and then buffering those weaknesses.
Yeah, and so when you say weaknesses, does that mean like my bench sucks, so I'm going to do more push volume, or does that mean like
It's going to be individualized per person. So,
okay, so,
you know,
so it could be anything from like this dude can't retract his shoulder blades when
Exactly.
he's benching, so we're going to do a fuck ton of rows, or this guy, you know, his knees cave on squats, so we got to make, you know, so his hip can externally rotate better. So it's
Exactly.
kind of like, okay, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
It's very athlete specific.
Yep. So right now for Michael, 2 of the weaknesses that he has, the first one is speed. Okay. So we're going to be doing quite a bit of speed work this training block or for the volume block, and then the second one is upper back workload capacity. So we found out from this last peaking that as time builds, his upper back starts, you know, fatiguing.
Sure.
And
It's getting pounded, man, between deadlifts,
Oh,
between
yeah.
bracing a barbell on squats, between, you know, keeping your shoulders from exploding on
Yeah.
bench. Yeah, your
Upper back
traps
is insane, yeah.
It's taxed. That's why powerlifters have big ass backs, man. Yeah, that's you. Yeah,
like bears, man.
That's you
That
with
was me. Yeah,
bro. Ain't got no neck.
No neck. We swallowed that shit. But yeah, that's the volume block, and then the second block is the strength phase. So in this block, we are prepping for the peaking phase. So this is when we start focusing on actually building our strength. And again, when it comes to technique, we are making sure that we can handle the movements with increasing percentages as we go. So the reps is probably going to be around like 5 reps. We're going to stay around this area in the strength block, and the volume has decreased, and we're more prepping ourselves for the peaking phase, which is going to be, you know, a lot of mental and physical suffering.
That's one way to put it.
Yeah, so that's the strength phase. You know, ideally in the strength phase, you know, you're not fatiguing from your workouts when it comes to like the amount of volume that you're handling. You're not failing on your form, and you know you're feeling really confident, and you're or everything that you're doing is just building your confidence for the peaking block, because the peaking block honestly is a huge mind game. we're doing all the prep work before the peaking block, but if that goes bad, then it kind of messes with the peaking. And so those are the two first blocks, and the last block would be the peaking block. And that's where we're pretty much just focusing on performing in the gym when it comes to your main lift. So the accessories are going to be pretty light. And
would you say you're doing like 1 to 3 reps on most things?
Yeah, so you're going to be doing,
or on big 3 rather.
Yeah, for the big 3, we start at like 4 reps, and we, by the end of the peaking block, we'll do, depending on your experience, if you're an elite lifter and you've had experience in the game, then you want to work up to a single.
Yeah.
But if you're maybe not as experienced, like a beginner or intermediate, then there's no point in doing singles.
Right.
It could just cause injury, and not only that, it can destroy your confidence. So yeah, that's pretty much it. You're just, all these blocks, you're preparing for the next one and the next one in order to perform wherever you're trying to perform and achieve whatever it is you're trying to achieve.
Yeah. To piggyback on that a little bit, you could think of volume, strength, and peaking, or whichever one of those dials. You could think of them. You could think of it like a lever, and you only have a capacity to move so much at once. So it's like, imagine if you were driving a car, and rather than just hitting the gas at once, you hit the gas, the brake, and the clutch all at once. Your car's going to fucking explode.
Yeah.
And so the reason that's important is it's like, if, let's say, and I'm just throwing numbers around here to create an example, but let's say, week 1, you're doing 3 sets of 8 with 100 pounds on the bench press. Well, what if week 2, we went to 4 sets of 10 with 120 pounds? What if week 3 we went to 5 sets of 12 with 150 pounds?
Yeah.
Like, it all sounds great on paper, and sure, you'd be getting better, but you're only capable of so much.
Exactly.
You're only as good as what you can recover from.
Yeah.
That is the baseline of all of this. And I would say within strength sports and powerlifting, that's even more important, because how many people want to say, fuck it, I'm going to max today.
So many people.
Fuck it, I'm
going to
max today, man. Yeah, and so that's what I'm saying is it's like it's all a planned part of the plan. Like Janet, who I'm training for her deadlift competition
Amazing,
right now,
by the way.
Which,
wow.
quick shout out, hit 300 pounds on that deadlift in the mock meet, man.
Beltless.
61 years old, beltless, 300-pound deadlift on her.
That's amazing.
And we did a whole mock meet, man. She squatted 3 times, she benched 3 times, she deadlifted 3 times. She squatted 210 and she benched 105.
That's amazing,
and she pulled
man.
300, yeah.
Wow.
But anyways, if I try to have her, let's say we're coming up to this mock meet, and the week before we're doing 10 sets of 10 on shit, man. She's going to be absolutely wrecked come that time. So it's like you have to play these cards right and account for rest and recovery and your actual ability to grow and progress from what you did, instead of just tear yourself down and then never build back.
Yes.
Same idea
100%.
as training too often. Same idea as, man, people use the phrase overtraining all the time, but it's under recovering. It's 110% under recovery.
Yeah.
You can handle some pretty serious training and stimulus, but your recovery has to be where it is.
Yeah, if
your
you're
sleep's
over
got to
here-
be on point. Your nutrition's got to be on point. Everything, your stress has got to be low. Like, it's got to be all dialed in if you want to hit more than one of those pedals at once. And like, I'm not saying anyone can't, but the thing is, man, is like, nobody wants to talk about the fact that we're all normal human beings. Like, everybody thinks that they're going to be Arnold or CT Fletcher or like, and do this shit 60 hours a week and nothing else. Like, you got job, you got kids, you got responsibilities, you got dogs, you got hobbies, you want to go drink with your friends sometimes. Like, you have a normal life, and that's okay. You adjust accordingly so you can make progress instead of expecting yourself to hit all of those pedals at once.
It's all about progress. Yeah.
Exactly. And it's like, when you can eat that slice of humble pie and know what you can and can't do, that makes a big difference.
Yeah, and not only that, but when you eat that humble pie and you start like actually following the law of progressive overload, which is kind of what you're talking about right now, you'll realize that you can kind of work yourself up to a lot of amazing things. All you have to do is just trust the process, stay patient. Yep. And just understand that you're not that person that you will be at the end of it right now.
Yeah,
you have to build up to that person.
100%. It's that fine line of training hard and wanting to get after it, but not overreaching, and being mindful of. I'm not saying what your limits are, but being mindful of. Man, if I have a 300-pound deadlift for 15 reps on the menu, but I slept 4 hours the night before, I'm not gonna do that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It doesn't make sense. It's like, you can't expect yourself to just Superman everything, man. And I might be talking to myself here.
Well, that's also how
But,
you get
like,
injured, you know?
Yeah, I might be talking to myself here a little bit, man. But I feel like it's an important prospect that isn't talked about. So that's the whole point of the training blocks. It's to work you up to this thing and not to toast you super early and then just drag ass the whole way.
Yeah.
You know?
You have to fill in your weaknesses, build up to
Yeah.
exactly what you're trying to do.
Yeah, 100%. So, all right, let's wrap this one up here. That was a fun little Q&A. You guys can always ask us questions at Progress Through Change on Instagram, or at, is it Toro_strong?
Toro_strong.
Or at Toro_strong.
Underscore.
But we'll catch y'all in the next one. Thank you for listening. It's brought to you by ProgressThroughChange.com. Peace.